Okay, so we are looking at one of the rigs that I've done before, and in this section I don't really give a full tutorial, but I just want to break down a bit the rigs, how I made them, and give you an insight of the thought process, the way that it's set up, etc. Yeah, just to help you on your way if you ever face having to make one of these slightly more complex, or at least complex looking rigs. Usually they tend to be not that complex, it's just the difficulty is figuring out how it works, how to set that up. And definitely for this one, I remember that took me the longest. The actual rig is rather simple, I would dare say, especially taking into account the basics that I've explained in the tutorials in the basic rigging section of my channel. So if we look at this, I've given it some colors. We have the white parts as static, so we can go ahead and hide those. I've put them on a separate layer. They're not needed, they won't animate, and we don't need them for the rig. So that leaves us with this. You can see that it's basically 4 colors. We have one drive shaft, green parts here that are basically the same as the purple parts. We've got 2 pistons here that perform piston actions, so rather simple setup for those as well. The complexity is obviously in the purple and in the green parts that you see here. If we unhide all the helper objects, it looks like a lot. It looks perhaps a little bit intimidating, but again, if you break it down into sections, it's not that bad. So if we go ahead and we look at, for instance, the pistons on its own, you can see that it's the setup that we've discussed in the channel, where I discussed the slider crank setup, and it's just it's a similar setup. So we have a rotating axis. We've got a spline IK with some control points. These control points are linked to the dummies, and these dummies are linked to a rotating dummy, the main control, which I usually make in red, so that it's easy to see which ones are the ones that you need to control the whole thing. So if you rotate that, yeah, it's the same setup. Again, I won't explain fully how these works because these are explained in the individual videos, but this is the setup that was used for the pistons. Fairly straightforward, just a spline IK setup with some control points that you can move around. Obviously this doesn't make sense, but yeah. So that's the easy part done, I would say. Let's hide those and focus on, for instance, unhide everything. Let's focus on the purple parts here. We'll get to the green ones later, although it's basically a copy of what we already have. So if we see the front view here, what I usually do is I give everything, every hinge or places where things are bolted onto a frame, usually I would put a dummy or helper object there, just to be able to quickly draw either shapes or attach bones to them, etc, etc. And the same thing here. If I unhide the bones, there we go. Let's hide these so they're not in the way. Again, it looks maybe complex, but is not as bad if we hide the geometry. You can see that we have 3 sets of bones going on. Let's show the geometry. So if we focus on the red one, that's the main one. We have this arm here and then going down to the offset on the axle here. So if we isolate that one, that is this one, this one, this one right here, the end point. Let's take these 2 as well and this dummy here. So this is the setup that is used for the main controller, and it's a simple bone setup. You can see it moving here, we'll get to that in a second, but this is the main driver for the whole animation. Again, a simple bone setup, simple high solver, not even a spline IK, very, very straightforward. That's it. Then we have this arm, which also has its offset here. It's the bottom one here, so you can see that bone, this controller, this geometry here, this one, and that is actually linked to the same point as the red one that we've seen just now. So if you isolate those, then again you can see that it's a very, very simple setup. The reason why this moves is of course because the red one also moves, but it's just attached to that and it's the same high solver. A simple setup, but yeah, a complex or slightly complex situation, of course. And then we have this one, which is the yellow one. Again, it's a simple high solver setup, but yeah, the charm is in finding that the way that things are working, not so much in the actual rigging process itself. So again, a simple high solver just wobbles up and down a little bit, and yeah, basically controls the angle for this one. Now the complexity, at least in my case, was to figure out how it works if you move the controlling arm here, and that is done by this red dummy here. If we rotate this one, you can see that you can move the way that it's set up, and with that, this horizontal, or sorry, this vertical bar also moves with it. So that was a complex thing because you still want the rig, the whole animation, to work afterwards. Space Warp came to the rescue again, the same thing as described in the cam and follower tutorial. You can see here this white shape that I've drawn that's in the middle of this part here, and that's basically the control that you use to rock it back and forth. So offset with a space warp. I think there should be a plane in here somewhere. Let me see if I can find that one. Yeah, there's a little plane in here. Oh, that's the one for the green area. Let's hide that. I'm sorry. Let's focus on the where are you? Plane. Oh, I think I'm using the plane from the other rig, but it's the same setup. You have here the offset plane. You have the space warp controller that says, hey, follow object. That's this one here, which probably is, yeah, that's this one here. So you have a plane that has an offset from this white geometry. The white geometry is obviously linked to the red bone. So if you move the whole bone around, it goes with it, but it has a curve, as you can see, and it follows the same curve as the purple object here. There's an offset here to this geometry with the space warp, so it pushes this dummy upwards, and linked to that dummy is the piston that you see here, or at least this axle or bar, however you want to call it. So that's the setup. Again, it's not a very complex setup if you know how to set it up. You can probably make this in maybe 15 minutes, but it took me quite a few tries to find the right configuration for these bones and to make sure that they're all set up and working properly. That's usually the trick with creating rigs like this, is not so much the actual building of the rig, but figuring out mechanically how something works. Sometimes you have reference videos that helps in the way that things are animated, but yeah, overall it's getting that understanding of how something works mechanically, and then building the rig to follow there. So that's pretty much it. We have one thing remaining that I would like to show, which is on the right side. So let's go and unhide everything and focus on the green part, which I believe is the right version here. Yeah. So we've got the same setup, obviously, for those bones here. However, what this one introduces is a look at controller for this handle here. So when you turn the whole thing, that handle moves with it, and it's not a very complex setup. If you isolate it, you have this here. Let's look at it straight on. It's again two helper objects, these ones here, and two crosses, these orange ones here, that have a look at constraint. So they're looking at each other. When one goes down, they look at each other, and thereby form the look at constraints. And yeah, that's why this one stays in place. The bar follows the rotation of the top one, and this one stays in place, located on the arm here. Again, simple setup, but yeah, you have to find the way it works, and that might take a few evenings of puzzling around, but not a very complex one, but a highly anticipated one, I would say, and definitely one that caused me a few evenings without sleep. But I had a lot of fun trying to figure this one out, and very satisfying if in the end you can figure it out and if everything works as well. So there you go.